Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m. September 2nd. You probably hear a sink in the background. That's my wife's blender, and she's cleaning it out. So hopefully it's not too loud. Back from vacation. Market didn't do crap until Friday. It looked like, and now this morning it's deciding to gap down pretty big. Lots of uncertainty. Lots of uncertainty. Markets are selling off pretty hard right now. I think I'm pretty sure I saw Powell or somebody say something just recently. Somebody said something. Let's see here, because I just saw something come over. Let me just look at this real quick. It says, who that is? Pulte. Trump focused on getting housing market booming. Powell not holding Lisa Cook accountable. Pulte on Fed's Lisa Cook documents are authentic. Okay. Regardless, it's looking like the market's just selling off. I'm trying to figure out why, and sometimes you can't. So, yeah, we're gapping down pretty big. So right now the Nasdaq is down 1.21, ES down almost 1%. So, like I was saying before, there's a lot of uncertainty. The courts ruled that Trump's tariffs are unconstitutional, not constitutional. What violated the Constitution? Put it that way. Um, so that's going on. He said he's going to appeal, and then rate cuts are coming up. The FOMC. September is usually the most bearish month of the year. So that's seasonally weak year. Starting off September already weak. The market is pretty dumping pretty hard right now, actually. So welcome back, right? Welcome back. Volume is up almost double than normal. So I'm looking forward to today. I thought today might have been a boring, everybody back from holiday um, trading, but this is not. This is pretty nasty. So right now, Nasdaq futures on the daily chart are going past the 50-day moving average. So, and then that in the ES is approaching, and not too close to the 50. But so remember, Nasdaq wasn't joining this party in the all-time highs. I talked about this previously. So, and Nasdaq futures pushing through 232, which is a key high volume node. That is pretty substantial move, and the ES is back to around 64.10, which is also a high volume node. Let's see if that holds this market. We've come down pretty much. Can't put anything past these markets, but that's what's going on this morning. All right. So obviously, Nvidia reported last week. It didn't impress anybody. So we're pretty much down through most of those earnings. I believe Broadcom, Avgo, ticker AVGO, reports earnings this week. And yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. Semis are down over 2%. So that's a risk off market. All right. Man, this market. Oof. All right. Now, why don't we just get right into it? Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge that I share with you. Okay. Now I also use anchored VWAPs. Okay. And my market internals shows me what's going on under the hood of the markets. Okay. Also, my weekly expected move indicator for free. For free. You can see that on my Discord. Okay. Now last week, on my that indicator, I think the only ones that really touched that expected move was Eli Lilly early in the week. It hit the expected move to the upside early in the week, and it could not go over it. could not go over it. So that was really the only one that I saw that violated one of its expected moves. But of course, it closed within the range. All right. Now, hopefully, you join me every morning. You subscribe, set an alert. Let me give you the market story. Let me be your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, water, whatever you drink. Or if you're in your car, use me as a podcast, like my friend Rosita, and just listen. I'll catch you up and tell you why the market's doing what it's doing. Okay. I will give you market news, economic calendar, leaders and laggards, all right, and a bunch of technical analysis to follow. And then I will give you, morning, Chief, I will give you the long and short trade scenarios on the NASDAQ and the ES futures, which I think is gold. Gold, because that should set up every stock. Now, if you trade the mega caps or stocks that are very liquid and have a beta close to the SPY, the S&P 500, that analysis should help any trade with those. Now, of course, smaller market cap stocks can move on their own. Okay, that have nothing to do with the markets. They don't correlate as high. Okay, now let's talk about Discord real quick. All right, let's talk about that Discord. So, if I just talked about all that stuff that I give you for this YouTube, now if you join my Discord, right, I give you live updates. Okay, I give you audio, so you can see here. There's audio. I give you video, like here. Okay, I've been doing audio and video now because sometimes I'm like, how do I explain this more clearly? And of course, I type and stuff like that. Okay, so I give that live commentary throughout the day. I basically want you to use me as an indicator, right? You don't have to trade like me. Okay, now hopefully you join, and that is Discord is Confluence Trading. Okay, sign up, sign up, sign up, sign up. Join the community. Okay, and you go to this weekly expected move channel, and I just updated the expected move for this Friday. So that's free for anyone to use has Thinkorswim. You can put it on your mobile, your cell phone, on the app, or just look at it on the desktop platform on Thinkorswim. All right. You will find that those expected moves are very key. Very key. In short, it gives you the expected range for this Friday. 70% of those ranges, 70% of the time, stocks will close inside those ranges. So if you want to know if a stock's overdone, meaning it's overbought, look at the expected move to the upside. That will tell you that what's the chances that this just rockets from here? Probably not high. Same thing to the downside. And I'll give you two examples to the downside that actually had big moves to the upside. Berkshire Hathaway and Eli Lilly both broke through their expected moves to the downsides 2 weeks in a row. Okay? You've done that 2 weeks in a row, and since then, they've pushed up pretty mightily. So, again, I've coded this, I don't know, 7 weeks ago, maybe now, 8 weeks ago. And I've noticed a lot of things. And like I said, there's a lot of things you could do with options. So that I'm going to start doing. And I tested it out with Meta, but then it was like the Jerome Powell thing came out, so I just took a small profit in that. But without big news release, there's edge there, and you just got to exploit it. Okay? Alrighty. Let's get back to the show here. Let's go and see what's moving futures. So, We have a VIX that's up 14.39%. We have an 18.44 VIX. That VIX is coming back up, folks. All right, it is September. All right, now that VIX went down to a 14 at one point. All right, crude is getting love. Now, generally when crude goes up, that's not good for the markets. So crude's going up. It's been in a big range. It's pushing out of that range. So silver, I'm a proud holder of silver. That, I believe, is an all-time high. Not an all-time high. Not an all-time high. I believe that's a recent high. I have to look at that again. I don't think that's all-time high. But it's a recent high of over 40. Bitcoin's up 1.27. Gold up 1%. So gold's making a move again. 10-year yield, interesting, is up almost 1%. Dollar is moving as well. So that's interesting, right? Dollar moving up and also silver and gold moving up. That typically doesn't happen, right? But the dollar, a stronger dollar is generally not good for equities, okay? Ethereum down 0.15, the Dow's down 0.70, 30-year bonds being sold down 0.90, ES down 0.93, Nasdaq's down 1.24, Russell is down 1.28. So the Russell is getting, there's a lagger here. Now this is pretty serious selling right now, okay? Moving on to the Mag 7 Plus. And who's our leader here? Berkshire Hathaway, okay? Up 0.15. Now, it's a bunch of laggers. We're going to go to the 1%ers, all right? Let's go down to the 1%ers. Eli Lilly down 1.04%. Boeing down 1.06%. Coinbase down 1.16%. Tesla down 1.73%. Meta down 1.81%. Amazon down 1.82%. Google down 1.92%. Broadcom down 2.13%. Nvidia down 2.55%. Now, they looks like they have a dividend. I don't think their dividend pays much, so. AMD down 2.63. So AMD, I think went up to the 185s around, and now is back down to around 158. Okay, so it had a nice run. Now, let's go to top sectors. Let's see what's moving here now. I also am a proud holder of PepsiCo. I was buying that on the way down. So a new firm has bought, I believe, $4 billion worth of the stock, and now it's one of the largest shareholders. We'll get into that in a little bit. But that's up 4.27. Oh, it's moving around on me. All right. That's the only one there to note. Now, if we go down here, Uber's down 1.55. Qualcomm down 1.57, a semi. Snowflake down 1.78. Granular, let's look a little granular here. Who's up today? GDXJ, that's Gold Junior Miners. I did have that at $33 a share, and I got stopped out way back. That hurts. That does hurt, I'm not going to lie. And I had gold. I made good money on gold, but it stopped me out too. Now, who's lagging? Tilray. I think this is Stellantis, down 8.30. CoreWeave continues to fall, down 5.69. SoFi down 4.39. IonQ down 4 point. That's quantum computing, down 4.38. Oklo, I believe that's more like nuclear energy, down 4.2. They're moving around on me here. You get my point. Palantir almost down 4%. All right, that's what's moving on there. We'll get away from that now, and we'll go to the sectors. That's what I really care about. Okay, let's look at that together. Who's leading? Energy up 0.23, followed by staples. Obviously, energy moving, and staples is defensive, right? Utilities only is pretty much flat, right? And then you have your communications down 0.85, discretionary down 1%. That's your Tesla, your Home Depot, and your Amazon. Technology, that's your Apple, your Nvidia, your Microsoft. Okay, that's down 1.51, and semis down 2.12. Nasdaq is continuing to fall right now as we speak. So as long as semis, and particularly XLK, which encompasses semis, but I always like to split them up here, that is going to take our market down. I mean, that's almost 34% of the market cap is the XLK and the S&P 500. Where that goes, the market generally goes. Okay? So this is pretty bloody today. Now, let's move on. Okay. We're going to go to some economic calendar here. We'll look at the week ahead. All right. Today, we have ISM manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing employment at 10 a.m. So I'm probably, unless I have some unbelievable setup at 9:45 or something, I'm probably going to stay away. Stay away from that. All right. Let the dust settle after 10 a.m. Wednesday, what do we got? George Jobs, factory orders, Fed Kashkari speaking, 30-year mortgage. Thursday, we have initial jobless claim, more ISM, and Fed speak. Fed Williams, Phil Goolsbee. Friday is the big one, non-farm payrolls, unemployment. So we're expecting, it looks like a tick up in unemployment there. All right. So that's your economic calendar. Like I said, Broadcom reports earning this week. Let's just see. Earnings on 9/4. Yep. All right. Let's go move on here. Let's look at some news here. I'm going to go and look at some stocks. Let's see. All right, let's see here. 40net. Stock price edged down following a downgrade by analysts to underweight from equal weight. Amazon shall slip 1.2 after Reuters report said that U.S. signups for Prime membership program slowed during this year's expanded Prime Day promotion. I saw that. I saw that earlier. Um, let's look at the PepsiCo just to show you that one. I'm surprised they didn't include that there. Here's PepsiCo. That's what I was talking about earlier. Uh, Shares rose 4% on Tuesday after activist investor Elliott Investment Management to close a $4 billion stake in the beverage and snacks giant, making it one of the company's top five active investors. Okay, so that's what I was talking about. What's moving PepsiCo? Let's move more news here. Kraft Heinz to split into two companies. Fed a potential pivot point on jobs as storylines diverge. Let's see here. Tesla's China-made EV sales drop on year in August, but jump on 1 month. On month. Okay, like I said, if there's nothing coming out at me, I'm not going to talk about it. So let's see. There's nothing there to talk about. Okay, let's look at the juice real quick. I believe I saw Trump. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Um, let's look here. Trump makes an announcement at 2 o'clock. Trump is going to make an announcement at 2 o'clock. I hope I am pretty much, I usually am done by then, so that shouldn't affect any trade unless I'm in a trade and I'm holding it. But Trump makes an announcement at 2 o'clock. All right. Now, let me just see if there's any red here to show me why this market's dipping so hard. I didn't see anything earlier. Not really. This is just getting into this September seasonally bearish month. Okay, it's the most bearish month of the calendar year. Okay. What else is there to talk about here that I wanted to talk about? Let's see if there's any upgrades and downgrades. This shouldn't really matter today, but let's just see. This is upgrades. Let's see here. Nothing really here. Downgrades. This has not been a good list lately for the downgrades. Yeah, it's for some reason this site does not. It's garbage for that. It's okay. I mean the market's selling off anyway. All right, let's move on. We're gonna go right into daily charts. Let's look at our good old SPY here. So obviously on Friday, I know you made all-time highs on Thursday, and then proceeded to drop back into the previous week's range and got bought up pretty much at the 9 EMA daily towards the close. Okay, that doesn't really seem to matter much right now because We are at 638.54, 638.50. Wow, you're all the way down here, folks, below the 20-day simple moving average. That is kind of crazy. Okay, so you're just took out. Well, that day was taken out Friday. So 1, 2, 3. You're pretty much this big candle that was from the Jackson Hole from Trump. I mean from Powell. Yeah, you're looking to take that out. Okay. And this is basically a daily demand zone. Okay. So can we go all the way down here to 633? I don't know. Expected move to the downside for this week is, now remember, put that on your charts, but it's right here. The expected move for the SPY is $12.72. That would put us to the downside $632.33. So 632.33. That is the expected move to the downside. Now, last week's lows is 632.95, basically 633. Okay? We are not by that yet. Okay, but it's only Tuesday. Let's just see. Let's just see. And let's get into the futures to see the look of futures. Look at that candle, that black candle. That is pretty nasty looking. Okay, you can see you just took out all of these candles with this one. Pretty nasty. You are past the 20-day simple moving average. You're past last week's lows. Already making a new range. Okay, here's that daily demand right there. That's a daily demand zone. So, like I said, in futures, let's see if we can test the 63.63s around. This is the 50-day moving average here at 63.58. Pretty nasty. Okay, pretty nasty. Let's go to Qs. Here's our Qs. You can see downtrend here, right? And on Friday, you closed below the 90 EMA daily and the 20-day simple moving average. Okay, pretty nasty in the Nasdaq. You took out all these candles pretty much. All right, but today we're down to 562.80. Oops, sorry, 562.80. We are all the way, Jesus, all the way down here, almost down to the 50-day moving average. Okay, breaking that uptrend. Pretty nasty. Okay, let's look at the futures. You can see the nasty candle there. Okay, ugh, that is pretty nasty. You're past the 50-day moving average in futures. You're down to, now look, you're in this daily demand, and there's a key level around here, around around 230. Yeah, like I would say around 230. 232 is a high volume node. We'll go over that in a little bit, but that's kind of, we passed that. So that's support. If we lose that, whew, that is not going to be good. And this is the previous month's lows. That white line there, that's 22775. Okay, that is August's lows. So very interesting. All right, again, I'm not going to go into the bond market or the dollar. I mean, maybe we'll just look at it real quick. Triple-headed monster really has been dead. Really hasn't been something that's moved. So that's why I've really stopped going to it, because it really, the yields just have done nothing. I mean, it's, now they're pushing up. It's still doing nothing. Okay. The dollar, though, let's see. Is that getting some? Let's see, it's not doing anything. That's why I just don't go over it. The only thing that really is shining, well, not shining, but just making a decent move, is your VIX. Look at that push up. That is a serious push up in the VIX. That is a serious push. We're almost to a 19 VIX now. That is a move. Okay. Now, as far as, give me a sec here. We are, as far as hourly charts. All right, we're gonna go over them now. Go over some key levels. Okay. Let me bring those up. And here's our hourly charts. You can see, real quickly, I'll just show you the relative volume for today. That is beefy, folks. 241% in the ES, 191% of normal volume. So we got volume and we got the VIX up. Should make nice ranges today, nice tempo. Okay, so back to the hourlies. All right, let me get out my trusty marker here. Okay, so right here is the Jackson Hole, which we pushed down, pulled back, still was able to make an all-time high. Okay, that was probably now a bull trap. Okay, market got the juice, and I mentioned this last week. I said, all right, the Fed said he might cut or lean towards a cut, right? Now, in history, generally, when that first happens, the market goes up a little bit. But it also means that, if he's willing to cut, there must be something wrong with the economy. And also showed the Euro yield curve too last week. Okay? Generally, when you reinvert, you go back, you go into a recession. I don't know. I'm not calling for it. I'm just saying that's what history says. Okay? Now, anchor VWAP here from these all-time highs. All right? Now, we came close to ultimate balance here. Now 64, I'm going to call it 64.70 is your most traded price of the month. Your 64.95 I would call is your most traded price of the week. Close to ultimate balance, right? This area, I would consider that ultimate balance. Big moves happen away from ultimate balance. So look what happened when we left this area. This candle. Boom. Big move. And a big move. Down. Taking out these swing lows. Going after the Jackson Hole, scene of the crime. Okay? Now, you do have two high volume nodes here, one at 64.13 and one around 60, let's just call it 64.03 about. Or no, that's 64.06. That's where we are now. So this high volume node, can it hold the markets? Can it hold it? I don't know. We're coming from ultimate balance. Big moves happen. That's evidence right there. And now we're challenging this high volume node. There's demand here. Remember I showed you the daily demand zones. So we could stay here. This could be the move. And we range here. I don't know. Okay, but if we break it, this is a big demand. The next move would be the 63.70s. But this is, you can see the action over here. There's a lot of transactions that happened here. You generally don't just cut through this. Okay, so that's your ES. Let's look at the NASDAQ. Now the NASDAQ is bloody. Bloody. It took out the right here. Okay, this is Jackson Hole. Powell. It already took it out. So people are selling tech right now pretty heavily. Okay, so Jackson Hole's been taken out. Now, I said this too last week. I said the NASDAQ did not get into all-time highs. It never reached it. Okay, so you can see we are in ultimate balance in the NASDAQ 236. is ultimate balance. Okay, that is your most traded price of the month in the week. Well, you rip through that on Friday. That made a nice move. Tried to recover, and then you just kind of ranged until Sunday night. And then what happened? Boom. That's last week's lows right there. You just oh my God, man, this is really selling off. This is a big level. So 232 was a big high volume node from the past. It is cutting through that. That is not good. Okay. That is pretty serious selling there. I'm gonna have to sneeze here. Give me a second here. All right. Sorry about that. Now, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. This is pretty bloody, folks. All right. So, if you lose 232, the next level is 230. It's also a previous week's lows here. That is pretty nasty. Okay. That, I didn't expect to see that get lost that quickly. But, you know, there's blood in the streets right now. It's September. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that. Now, this is that daily demand. This is in the daily demand zone. So the end of this is around 23075s. That's a support. If we land, I think we stop at 230s. I don't know, though. This is pretty bloody. People are selling their tech. Okay. All right. That's your 1 hour charts. Now we're going to go over to market profile and volume profile. Let me just switch my workspaces here. This is bloody, man. Wow. I'm just going to show you guys some daily charts here to get you looking at a daily chart of the futures. So this is that daily demand zone right here. Right there. That's where we're in the ES. 50-day moving average is right here. I also have an anchored VWAP from this breakout here. Okay. If we're looking at the Q's daily charts, you can see it's more bear structure. This is that demand zone, daily demand right here. You can see the support here. It already broke the 50-day. It already broke this anchored VWAP from this breakout candle right here. So that's held the market in check multiple times. It's been tested here, here, and now here. If we take this out, wow. Okay. We take this out. This is the most traded price of this year. I'm not saying we go there. 100-day moving averages here. But that price is 219.32. Just look at all of this structure in the NASDAQ. So if you lose, I would say if you lose around the 227.74s, yeah, you could really look at a structure here. You could take that out and come right back here. Maybe even hit the 200-day moving average. This is pretty nasty. Pretty nasty. Okay. So look at the Q's here on this volume profile chart. All right. So pretty nasty. So remember, these blues are weeklies. Every blue profile is a weekly. So look, this is a weekly low. We're almost there. And around the 230. This is around the 230s. Okay, remember I said I feel that that might be the limit for today. But I don't know. That's the 232s, that high volume node right here. We're slicing through it. All right, we're slicing through it. So it's pretty bearish. Okay, that is pretty bearish. Look at the ES. That's the high volume nodes I was talking about in the ES right here. That's 6413 at 05s. We're right there. If we start cutting through that, we do have a weekly support here. That is the 6364s. All right. So all levels to be conscious of. Okay. Now brings us to our market profile here. Now this is a huge gap down. These are not easy to trade. Okay. Not easy at all to trade. Okay. Now the profile is kind of like, if we analyze that profile, you got so much volume up here. Remember I said ultimate balance was up here. So that, look at how much volume there was, and now look how thin this is because we're gapping down, right? Just every long in here is just getting smoked. Okay. I mean, all of these buyers are done. All of them. So that's pretty big gap down. If you're waking up today, and for some of you, you went long on Friday, boy, oh boy, especially in options because you can't do anything. Whew, you're not happy right now. Okay, especially with the Trump thing saying that the tariffs are unconstitutional. Again, I don't even know that's a word. I keep thinking it is, but you might have thought, okay, if they remove the tariffs, that might be good, right? But we're probably getting a rate cut. But like I said, I believe the rate cuts are priced in. Okay, so let's see what happens. Now let's mark some levels here. Let's mark some levels. First thing you're going to want to mark is the 50% retracement of this move in the overnights. That's your 64.40.75. That's your midpoint right here. Lines up with this demand zone. So we're going to make a nice little box right there with that. I'm sorry, supply zone. Right there. That's your 50% of this gap down. And let's clean this up. That's just horrible. Okay. This is quite a hefty move. This is like I said, coming out of ultimate balance, and this selling off even more. This is panic now. We're hitting probably panic level. For this to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, this is panic level. Okay. So, all right. So we marked off the midpoint. Now that might change the farther we move down. So right now that's the midpoint. I like that where it's at. Okay. You could see the most traded price of the overnights up here. It's probably going to move down lower. Okay. Now your gap fill, which I don't expect to be a gap fill at all, would be your 64.55. And one thing I like to do is combine. Let's merge these because I consider all this to be one session here. All right, that yesterday there was a small session which means nothing. Okay, so now I don't think we're going to deal with these levels, but ultimate balance all the way up here, I don't think that's even probably in the cards at all. Okay, now we do have this old ultimate balance. Okay, these high volume nodes. That's what we're battling with right now in that daily demand. We have our 6370, a high volume node from the past. What's support down there? Okay, like I said, this is not an easy thing to deal with. A huge gap down like this is not easy. I can't stress it enough. It's not easy. Okay. This is what I'm looking at right now. Okay. We're 100% net short. We're at the lows. Okay. So sometimes you get a burst back up that gets sold into. Sometimes you sell off the open, then you get the correction. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I have a big level here that's going to tell me something about this move. And that level is right here. And you're in a daily demand. So I notice daily demand Okay, which should hold the market somewhat. Okay, so this is the level we have. These are the levels that I have to play with today. We have a naked VPOC down here. That's just an untested most traded price of a day. That's a naked VPOC. Okay, let's get right into scenarios here. Like I said, not easy. This is not my favorite, but you still have to come up with some type of plan. Okay. All right, we're gonna start off with bear case. Okay. So we have some single prints down there. Now, this is my level right here that I want to see reactions from. You stay below that level, it's bearish. You reclaim that level. I'm not saying it's bullish, but it's probably, we're going to stay in the range. Okay? So, a couple scenarios here. Let's say there's a couple things that can happen here, okay? We can push down, get the initial push, come back up into this area. If we cannot get out of this area, it might do one of these, and we go down and hit that naked VPOC, or, like I said, I don't know, we could go down to 63.70s. Okay? That's one. We can also open up, rip up, fail, come through this area, and also fall down, and maybe we just go to here and we kind of just balance off. I'm really looking to see how the market responds to this area. I know we're in demand here. I'm not a fan of shorting into demand. I don't really like that because there's buyers there. People are probably going to take profits. We've already came a far way. Okay. Now, there is a trade here also that I'd have to see internals. But let's just say the market did push up pretty quickly. All right. Into last week's lows. Right here. Or the midpoint into this supply. That could still give you a chance to get down to here. And then we balance off. It's going to be very tricky. That's what I'm saying. Very tricky here. Let's move on to longs. Ooh. That's not what I want to do. Let me put that back. Okay. So, if we go to a long, I really need to see something in the long. Okay. So, what can happen? We're in demand already, and I can actually get rid of this one. Well, I'm going to keep it there because there's a support there. Right at the end of this demand zone, notice how the market got bought. All right, so I'm going to keep that there. So what I want to see is the same thing. This right here. So if the market goes like this, rips up, and starts to hold, well, maybe we can make it up to this area, to this supply. That would be a nice trade. Okay, that would be a nice trade. The only thing, not the only thing, we could do is, let's say we gap, open up, drive lower. Maybe even hit this naked VPOC around 63, what is that, probably 87. Whoa. Wow. Whew. That hit that naked VPOC right there that I'm talking about right now. Okay? That's a naked VPOC. That's a untested most traded price of a day. So the market came right down to that, hit that to the tick. I don't know what just came out, but that could be this end of the selling. I don't know. We got a nice tail here now. Okay? Part of that scenario. Okay, let's just take it here. It just came there. What if it starts, here? It can't spend too much time here. If it does, we're probably going lower. So what I would wanted to see was if it came down here, which it just did. Okay, and say you start to get higher lows, you can maybe make it up to this area, and that could be a trade. Okay, the tempo is going to be really fast today. Okay, so that's one of them. Now the other scenario that could possibly be in the cards, if we gap down really quickly into 63.70s and go all the way down to this support. That support is 63.64s. I mentioned that earlier. Okay, if we do that pretty quickly, let's say, and we reclaim this 63.70, that could be a nice move somewhere back and up in here. Okay, that's your ES. Moving on to the NASDAQ, which is structured different. Remember, we came from ultimate balance in the ES. We came from ultimate balance in the NASDAQ. Big moves happen from ultimate balance. Okay, big moves happen from ultimate balance. Now, we just got that extra flush lower, right? So this would mean that, oh, that demand's not taken out. So let's see, this demand, oh, that demand was just taken out. But I'm going to keep it there because it shows me support there. Okay. Okay. So let's look at our levels. Remember, 23286, that's your 50% retracement, lines up with this supply zone. Lines up with this supply zone. Okay. We have our 232 high volume node from the past. We have our 230s high volume node. Okay. Again, we're 100% net short. We're at the lows. Okay. We're at the lows. We just got that flush. That could be the overnight lows. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of thin volume. Okay. Most traded price of the overnight is still all the way up here. Hasn't migrated yet. Okay. We hit a support level and people took profits right there. All right. So ultimate balance way up here, 236s. We're not even, that's not even in the stratosphere right now. Remember, this is very hard. This is not easy. Gap downs like this are not easy because there's a lot of panic. There's a lot of emotions. People holding stocks. Oh my God. They might want to get out of them. People might think this is a buying opportunity who, I don't, like I said, this market is trained to buy the dip. Okay. So that's what happens every time. Now, this is September. Generally, it's the most bearish month of the year. It's very, that's what I'm saying. All this stuff makes it very complicated. Okay. But our job, if you're a day trader, is to take a piece of something that you have edge in. That's all it is. So let's get into scenarios here. And we're going to start here with the bear case. Now there might be another supply zone after that most recent push down. Let's look at this here. This is our levels. Sorry I didn't split that out in the other one. Let's go with the bear case. All right. Now, we're 100% net short. We're at the lows. Generally, you get a correction. Okay? Generally. Okay? So, what I want to see here is there is a little supply here. I can see right in here. And then you have this big high volume node. So, this 232s, all right, is a little bit of a line in the sand for me in the NASDAQ. So let's just say NASDAQ pushes up into this 232s. It could just do a perfect rejection, and then maybe we hit the overnight lows, maybe we go to 230s. Or it might make you think that we're going over it, like one of these, come back under it, rip under it, retest, go lower. So I'm going to be looking for that. Okay? Now, that gap fill is not even in the question. Okay, so we're all the way down here. Now, one thing we could do as well. Okay, this is pretty bearish. Now, I'm only going to put the scenario because of the emotions. Let's say you were long on Friday, any kind of pop, let's say you get a nice pop, hold this level, push up into this supply. Well, if I was long, I want to get out of this trade. Let me get out. Motions, right? Short, and you get a nice short down to here. All right, that's what I'm looking at there. Now, as far as longs, let's look at those longs here. All right, longs. We know we're 100% net short. We know we are gapping down, okay, into a support level that just got bought. So for me, in the NASDAQ, that 230 becomes a very good player, because if we just go and open and drive lower, you gap and go, right? You push it into this 230s. 22950 is the key support level. So if you do one of two things, you could hit that 22950, and I'm going to wait for this level to hold to go long. Maybe go back to the 232s. Okay. You could also be perfect and just hit this and do a higher low as well and go up. That's one. I would say that I'd probably interested, because if it does this quick and the market's not that weak, we do that. Second, let's say you get a big market rip, and it rips up all the way up here and then holds. You can possibly go back into this area on the 233s. That's all I'm interested in. All right, like I said, this is not an easy trade at all. Be careful. It's Tuesday, but we have volume and volatility today. Okay. So hopefully you enjoyed that analysis. If you did, smash the like button. That'd be much appreciated. Okay. And as always, please join me every morning. I give you the market story. I just gave you a bunch of technical analysis, a bunch of golden nuggets. All right, a bunch of golden nuggets. Gave you the market news. Gave you key levels. Now I just gave you long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the NASDAQ futures. Okay. And I'm telling you, large gaps like this are not easy. I'm saying that for a reason. Okay. Now today the market gives us a little gift, meaning we have 10 a.m. news. Why I say that is it's going to make me probably be patient to 10 a.m. Be patient at 10 a.m. Let more of a story, a picture unfold where I can get a clear setup. That's why I say it's probably a gift today. Sometimes I can't stand those because I'm like, oh my God, my setup's there, and then I can't take my setup because of the news. All right, but today I probably welcome the news to just be like, all right, I'll sit back and let the story unfold. Okay. Now, of course, if you want more in-depth coverage of this market, of this big gap down, join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Sign up, join the community. If there's interest, let me know. I will go live. If not, I will do updates all day with videos and audio messages, and of course, typing messages, text messages in the Discord. Okay? But like I said, I don't mind going live if there's people who want to hear my commentary. Okay? Because that is like minute to minute if I'm live. Otherwise, I'm still going to give you golden nuggets. All right? So go to my YouTube homepage, click on that link, and sign up. Also, get that weekly expected move indicator up on your charts. It's a huge edge. Can't stress that enough. All right? Now, everybody, I went a little long-winded today. A lot going on today. All right? I'm back. Everybody, have a great day. Now, remember, no trade is a trade. Okay? No trade is a trade. I hope everybody stays green today. All right? Hope everybody understands that this is not an easy trade. I've said that a million times. Okay? Now, if I don't see you in my Discord, which I hope I do, I'll see you tomorrow morning. All right, everybody, have a great trading day.